here are the representatives from 6th APRSCL and 6th University of Hong Kong. Our paper is a case study on the volunteer ambassador scheme under CYEP. Ontario, Mrs. Lewis, Ada, and Joey. So we begin with a brief overview to our program and the subsidiary project at CCU, followed by a presentation of our study results and sharing from participants in the study scheme. Let us take a look at our project first. As we witnessed a change in the role of students in service learning practices, from previously a service provider to taking up more leadership roles, our paper chiefly looks into the organizational development and implications brought about by such changes. Let us take a look at our project first. It was established in 2005 and is a non-credit-bearing service learning project open to all students at CBU. We hope to engage students with the community through a variety of services. Over the years, we have worked with over 30 community agencies. In the past 12 years, we have amassed nearly 165,000 hours of service and 1,600 volunteers. May I now explain to you all our project name by CCU. We believe that youngsters in the community, not just CCU students, are capable of contributing to the society. We hope that the service learning process is a mutually beneficial relationship, empowering both the service recipients and the students. By project, we mean that this is a voluntary-based program, and we hope to stay true to the nature of volunteering. As the concept of service learning has become more prevalent in Hong Kong, and more institutions are setting up initiatives based on different service learning models, we at CYEP, instead of being confined to our institutional framework, hope to continue improving our program with our developmental approach. This is why we made a transition from a volunteering project to a service learning one. We see that having students to serve and meet social needs remains the main objective in a volunteering project. As we hope to strike a balance between students and community's needs, we believe that a service learning project places more emphasis on relationships between volunteers and service recipients, volunteers and officers, or volunteers and their inner staff. This, we believe, will better facilitate students' personal growth and initiate their self-autonomy to make a change and be the change they want to see. And now, how to do it?
Thank you, Kabir. And next, I would like to talk about the volunteer ambassador scheme. For the establishment of VA scheme, the reason why VA scheme, a one-year leadership program, was created, it is because there is need from officers and demand from volunteers. With VA scheme, demand from both parties were fulfilled. The aim of VA scheme is to provide a platform for volunteers to take lead of service program, and the platform should be open to all the volunteers. And for recent role of VA, through years of development, there have mainly three different roles. The first one is VAs have to take service to schedule and carry out duties like a project officers in the service. The second one is VAs need to join either one working team or all. And for supervision by officers, VAs need to meet with officers regularly to discuss about the progress and the inflections of service. And for timeline of VA scheme development, first of all, because it is a relatively small-scale leadership program, so for the number of VAs, it depends on the numbers of potential applicants and the numbers of officers to provide supervision. And for service shadowing, since 2014, we are required to select one service to shadow, and it improves the involvement of VAs and also the understanding of different services in CYEP. And for training workshop, we are required to join more training than before. And we need to join the training camp and the debriefing workshop to gain more skills and knowledge and support from officers. And for the working team, before 2014 we did not divide it in different teams, and VAs might not get confused of what they need to do at that stage. After that, we divided in 4 teams. And for supervision system, and all VAs got supervised from officer, and regarding to the working team, I'm sharing service in a regular base. And next, I would like to pass the time to Ava to talk about the research part.
Thanks, Louis. And here comes our research part. First is our methodology. First, we did a documentary analysis with in-depth interview and focus group with 6 administrators, 5 past VAs, and 5 now VAs. And here is our information. Thank you, sorry for the inconvenience. Here is our information table, and you can go through and have a look of it. And for the literature part, as since 1990s, there has been an increasing intention to the service learning leadership over college students, and we divide this part into 3 parts, like leadership in service learning and intended outcomes of service leadership, as well as the practice in Hong Kong, which is described as an organizational relationship. And as the service-related leadership in Hong Kong, there is a foundation called Victor and Willing Fong Foundation, and goes through a support at universities. And this is also a description of the service leadership in Hong Kong. We also summarize the activities chapters through all the literatures, like they are nearly all classroom-based and co-curricular activities they are inside. And as for the intent outcomes, there is also like understanding of the related knowledge as well as the leadership building and personal development. And for the organization in the university, there is well structured as well as department leaded, and there is credit bearing as well as cost based. There is also a relation like negotiation as well as decision making between the administrators and the student leaders. And they are like mentoring, coaching, modeling, and as well as empowering. And when we go through all these literatures, it's like there is still a gap and a blank in this area, and we can talk more about the impact of student leaders and the ideal model of student leaders, as well as the in-depth analysis of the student personal development. And then I will pass to Joy to talk about our results.
Thank you, Ada. So here's the result of our research. So we separate the results into basically 2 parts. One part is on the administrators and one part is on the VAs. So in terms of the relationship with the VAs, in the past the administrators' relationship is quite subordinating, but now it turns to more a partner or a friend with the VAs, between the VAs and the administrators. And in terms of decision making, in the past, it's basically all decisions are made by administrators, but now mainly made by VAs. And in the part of the VAs, in terms of autonomy and voices, in the past, the VA's autonomy is quite low, but now it's turned to a high autonomy. And in terms of relationship between the VAs, in the past, they are like working partners, but now they have a good bonding, and also with the administrators, they are like mentors and friends. And here are some of the narratives we got from the interviews and also the focus groups from the administrators. So Administrator D and Administrator C worked in CYEP from 2012 to 2014. Actually, we can see from Administrator D's narratives, the autonomy of the VAs are quite low, and but they also encourage relationship like friends. But from narratives from Administrator C, she is a former project supervisor, and then she has a direction and ideal concept of how the VA scheme should be. But we can see that officers may not be able to bring the practice in a short time. And then it's the narratives from Administrator J and Administrator W, which work in the following 2 years. We can see there's a more balanced relationship between the VAs and the administrators, and both of them have the decision-making power. And also we can see that they work together, and then the administrator will support them when they do not feel comfortable or confident with their work. So we can see there's improvements. And here's the narratives from Administrator A and Administrator B. We can see the administrator just step back more and then supporting the VAs from behind. We can also see that the administrator only gives the frameworks to the VAs, and then others are built up by the VAs as well. So we can see there's an increased involvement in the VAs, and also the VAs have more decision power. These are the narratives from the focus groups with the volunteers, the VAs. From the narratives on volunteer F, we can see that they have a very working relationship. So compared to the narratives from the administrators in the same period, we can see the administrators' working style will affect the VAs. And from narratives from volunteer H, we can see there's an improvement through the practices. They found their direction in their operation, so there's improvements in their autonomy. So these are from the narratives from volunteer O, volunteer J, and volunteer C. They work with they talk about on the decision making. Also, we can see there's increase in autonomy and their voice. We can see they work closely with the administrators, and also they will value their opinions. So these are from the VAs in 2016 to 2017. We can see they really have a close bonding and no hierarchy between the VAs and administrators, and also they have an increased autonomy. They can even be in charge of a service. Here's another two narratives on the hierarchy, to say that they have a very high autonomy and no hierarchy between administrators and VAs. So here comes the discussion part. Actually, after all the literature review, after the results, there's still a lot of questions that were for us to think about. So the first thing is on the sustainable resources for leadership development program. Because some of the service learning programs are supported by private corporations, while some are supported by community donors. So, but the most important thing is, are these resources sustainable? And the second one is that in order to seek improvements, searching for an effective and appropriate execution of leadership development program is very important. So there are 3 points we want to point out. The first one is on sustainable values to be educated to the leaders. And the second one is on balancing the group size and bonding between the leaders. And the last one is on comparing the mass production of leaders, or we have an individualized coaching to the leaders. So we would like to talk about the limitations of this research and the programs.
Thanks, John. When we talk about limitation, we initially divided to 2 dimensions. First is the program related, that we are still lacking of resources and lacking of human powers, and as well as we are initially the service driving, which means we are still volunteer based, and it will tend to be uncontrolled participants and attention, as well as there is highly individualized and intensive coaching, which means the intensive manpower need. And as for the research part, it is still practice drive, and which means it's not theoretical drive. Which means that our team has gone through the research of the literature review, like we want to find a suitable model for what we have done for our stream. But it's like that there's still not a best fit model, so it's still like we should working on the documentation. And there is a recommendation for the limitation and still two dimension. First, the program related, and we should raising the resources, raising the human power like the staff, as well as providing intensive coaching and better communication between us. As well as in the research part, there should be conceptualization of the VSD, as well as to do the documentation and more research in the future. And here's our reference list. Thanks for all the formal staffs and the current staffs and our VAs and our volunteers. Thanks for the support from our general donors. And please feel free to reach us for this contacts. And here's our presentation.